Ladies and gentlemen, following a loss, the Flyers are 6-0-0. That is something that if you're able to build on throughout the season and maybe at some point in there sprinkle in a little bit of a win streak, that's something that a team would do that makes the playoffs. A team like that is able to make the playoffs and able to kind of sustain that throughout the season and avoid losing streaks. That's what the Flyers have done. This game, obviously from the start, you have the ceremonies for Paul Holmgren and Rick Tocchet getting inducted into the Flyers Hall of Fame. Great speeches. Everything was awesome with that. I know there was some talk of how empty the crowd was for that. And look, I feel like it was probably because the ceremonies started at 6:30 and then the game didn't actually start until 7:45. So I think if they were able to just put this back as if you make this game an 8 o'clock start time, you move the ceremony to 7 o'clock, you probably would have started around, 8:15, 8:20. Probably would have made more sense as, that would have been like a national televised game, which if it starts at 8, usually doesn't start till around 8:10, sometimes a little bit later. I know it was like that with NBC and things along those lines. Obviously, I'm going off what topic here, but lines for this game were pretty similar to the last game for the Flyers. No really changes on the offense. Defense was different because obviously Ryan Ellis is re-injured himself in the Dallas game and is now placed on long-term injured reserve. And the day that Hill is eligible to come back is December 8th. So this is going to be a while for Ellis, around a month. And obviously it's not the best news. I'm not going to sit here and make it like that. It's a good thing when you have guys that get hurt, especially when Ellis is one of your best defensemen. It's a huge loss for this team, regardless of how they're playing. You don't want to continuously keep playing without one of your better defensemen. Even though they're finding ways to win games, and they've been able to play better in front of Carter Hart, and he's just been fantastic, and he was again tonight. But Nick Seeler comes back into the lineup. I feel like overall Seeler's had a really good season with the Flyers. Hasn't done anything crazy. He's just played his game. He's looked good with Keith Yandel. He's been physical at times. He's made a lot of good plays getting the puck out of the zone quick. He's had a couple looks in the offensive zone, just kind of firing slap shots and things like that. But he's not really known for his offense, so you wouldn't expect him to score anyway. But again, I think he's done a good job in Ellis's absence, and same with Justin Braun. I mean, Braun has been fantastic. I've talked about that before. It was great again tonight. But overall, the lines for this game: Giroux, Couturier, James Van Riemsdyk, Farabee, Hayes, Atkinson, Brassard, Lawton, and Konechny, and then Brown on the left. You have Thompson and McHugh there. Provy, Braun, Sanheim, Rousseau, Yandel, and Seeler, as I said, in the Carter Hart and net for this one. So, starting out in the first period, Atkinson almost hit Hayes on a pass up the ice, went out of his reach. That goes for an icing. Fourth line probably had one of the Flyers' best shifts in the first couple of minutes. First shot of the game for the Flyers came from Seeler. They couldn't really get in the zone first couple minutes in. It seemed like the first period was kind of starting to be like the game the Flyers had played previously in Calgary this season on October 30th, where I believe they had maybe 5-6 shots in the first 2 periods of that game. It took them to the 8-minute mark of the second to get one shot on goal in that period of that game. Ended up getting blanked 4-0. So first period kind of is starting to feel like it's starting to kind of get to that. Hart had some good saves, kept the Flyers in it. Calgary would end up getting a power play here. They won a couple battles. Braun had a block shot twice, and the Flyers ended up killing that off. Johnny Gaudreau was all over it to start. He had the Flames' first 3 shots of the game. Had a shot that ended up getting blocked by Provorov. One of those blocks by Braun on the power play. The one was a Johnny Gaudreau shot. He had many shots in this game. At one point, they put up a stat. Him, meaning Gaudreau, and Lindholm had 17 shots. The Flames had, the rest of the team combined had 16. It was insane. Flyers, I personally thought they should have had a power play here. It was Yandel ended up getting tripped up, and they didn't call anything. Hart ends up stoning Gaudreau in tight. a little bit of a breakdown there for the Flyers, but Hart ends up denying that one. And then the Flames would end up scoring. Deflected shot by Shillington, deflected through Couturier's legs, bounced, went over Hart's pad. Really weird goal. Flyers had a turnover. I believe it was Provorov. Ended up turning it over on the breakout. And maybe tried a little bit too much there, and they couldn't really, get themselves set, and it was just a weird bounce as well. Not much Hart could do. An unfortunate bounce. Konechny has a chance in front there for the Flyers, goes head first into the boards. So they get a power play for a board. Couturier had a chance in close. Markstrom stoned him. Then they get a 5-on-3. Provorov just alertly threw it to Markstrom. So 5-on-3 for 31 seconds, holding on the stick there for Mangiapane. They end up killing that off. Yandel had a couple looks with some slap shots that Giroux was kind of just feeding him. Markstrom had one, kind of lost it for a second, and then ended up holding on. But Flyers would then get another power play with around 3 minutes left. Tkachuk with an interference. Couturier had a shot that just went wide. JVR tip in front. That was about it. That ended up getting killed off. So later in the period, they generated momentum because they were able to draw penalties. They got in Calgary's head for sure. And the power play, look, I don't want to sit here and say it's looking bad because they're having their looks and they're having their chances, but I really don't understand what Michel Therrien is trying to do. It hasn't necessarily done anything in the it's now the third season Terrien's been here. Hasn't really looked good in the handful of years that he's been here. I give him credit because he has tried to change things, but man, it's clearly not working. I mean, I don't really know what else is going to make them change it. And unless it's like the playoffs when they go on that streak and they had like no power play goals for I can't even remember how many games. The power play just has done nothing for them. It's like you want them to deny the power play, but again, it's still a work in progress. I feel like ever since they switched the units randomly, and when I say randomly, I mean the fact that they switched the units when it was not looking great because it went over 10 on the Western road trip, but you still had chances. You had a couple power play goals in the homestand, and I want them to just simplify things. I mean, you have the talent on this team. There's no reason why a team like this, a team this talented in the Flyers, should have a power play that struggles as much as they do. That's all I'm going to say on that. But end of the first period, shots on goal, 12-11 in favor of the Flames. Start of the second period, Provorov jumps in, shot one right into the chest off the rush. Flyers defense has done a great job over the last handful of games, jumping into the rush, creating chances. I said that after the Stars game. Definitely noticed it again tonight. Calgary would end up getting a power play. Lawton with a cross check. Tkachuk had a chance. Handcuffed the puck. Gaudreau dances around Hart. Made a really nice save. Hanifin ends up hitting the post. Mangiapane was stoned on the rebound. Kill that one off. Lawton out of the box. Gets a breakaway. Gets taken down by Anderson. Penalty shot. Goes in. Tries to look like he tried to go 5-hole. Ended up going on the forehand. Markstrom did the old-style two-pad stack and ended up staying with Lawton to make the save there. Brassard had a chance off the ensuing face-off after that. And then the Flyers, they started to get their chances. Ristolainen made a great play at the point to keep this puck in. Sent it down low to Hayes. Tried to go over to Farabee. Was blocked. Came right back to Hayes. Fired it into the open net. 1-1. Hayes with the salute to Jimmy Hayes. Great celebration. Unbelievable. So emotional. And Hayes actually had a play where he was tripped before this. Didn't call it. And, that goal kind of reminded me of the Giroux goal against Pittsburgh in the 50th anniversary season where Gudis made the really nice play to pinch in and find G for the one-timer. And it's that kind of classic Giroux photo where he's kind of given the really emotional, celebration there. Flyers ended up losing that game, but still, it just reminded me of the big defenseman pinching in to keep a play alive, and they end up scoring on it. Hart ends up robbing Gaudreau a couple minutes later. Then they go 4-on-4. Braun and Tkachuk go to the box. 2-on-1 for Konechny and Brassard. Tipped it just wide. Flyers, they were attacking the Flames as soon as they got in the puck. Very active sticks, forcing many turnovers. One thing they didn't do in the first period and also the last game against Calgary, the Flyers were, again, and they did this throughout the second period, into the third period, and they ended up getting the goal in overtime. But again, the last 40, or so minutes of this game, as you obviously have to add the time from overtime too to that. But again, they were just so, again, active sticks. They had good breakouts. Hart made good saves. If Calgary had chances or were able to kind of generate anything as they got into the zone. But the Flyers, they just did such a good job of attacking the Flames as soon as they got over the red line. Hart was actually very good at moving the puck in this game. Markstrom obviously is a very good goaltender at doing that, but as the second period was going on, it seemed like the Flyers were getting more comfortable with their breakouts. They were able to get out of the zone quicker, and they were able to generate that into offense, and they weren't as much dumping it into the zone where Markstrom was able to play it. If they were, it was high off the glass. They waited until they got closer to the blue line, anything like that. And they also were able to generate, chances off the rush, what they've done for a majority of the season. But the Flyers would end up getting a power play here late in the second. Tkachuk ends up slashing Hart after the whistle, and he actually hit him up in the mask area. So this was the scary moment of this period because there was a puck battle, and Hayes kind of goes down, and he kind of stretches out his leg, goes down, just basically he's just down, hunched over, basically gliding to the bench. I didn't even really think of anything that happened in the last handful of minutes there because I was worried about Hayes. I'm like, that's not good. And then obviously the tone of Jim Jackson's voice as he was describing it, as the camera was going down the other way of the Flyers picking up the puck, Jim Jackson was kind of talking about Hayes as he was skating to the bench. That wasn't the best thing. And end of the second period, and Flyers, a lot better period. They got the goal, played better 5-on-5. Hart made some good saves, regardless of how many chances Lindholm and Gaudreau and all those guys had. If the Flames had a chance on a partial break, the Flyers were at least able to get back and disrupt as much as they could, and Hart was there to, basically put it to rest at that point. The Flames had a lot of one-and-done chances, though, I will say, but Hart, again, made good saves, has had good rebound control, continued that. He's had that really all year. Shots on goal were 29-26 in favor of the Flames, 17-15 Calgary in the period. Hayes was on the bench to start the period. He was down at the end of the bench. He was sitting next to Nate Thompson. And I noticed as the game was, they were about to start, Thompson looked at him and he was like, "Are you okay?" And Hayes had shook his head, "Yeah." So that was good to see, at least, and he was on the bench. And, AV had also mentioned post-game that he was fine by intermission because, again, the Flyers had also had to play this game with 11 forwards because Patrick Brown got hurt in literally the last shift of the first period. And post-game, this is a tweet from Bill Meltzer, Brown has a thumb injury per AV. We'll know more tomorrow. So obviously that's something you want to look out on. Or look out for, I should say, excuse me. But Hayes comes back in this period, has his first shift with the normal line of Farabee and Atkinson. Drew absolutely just disgusting, danced around Goodbranson, threw his legs, cuts into the middle. Markstrom gets a pad on it. That would have been... I cannot tell you how loud Wells Fargo Center would have been. It probably would have been up there when Giroux's tying goal in the home opener. But the Flyers were very aggressive. They were shooting just everywhere. Their shots were 7-0 Flyers in the first 4.5 minutes of this period. Very aggressive, as he said. Great forechecking. Hart had a nice kick save on a backland tip. That was probably the Flames' best chance of the third. Flyers got a 2-on-1. JVR and Couturier, they're going down. JVR waits, shoots it off the post straight out. And it just seemed like one of them nights where, nothing was going for the Flyers, and they were going to have to get that bounce. Hart stones Gaudreau as he flies through in a wraparound save. Lots of back and forth play late, though. Both teams had their chances. Provorov had a chance. Couturier had a tip in front seconds before that, and Tkachuk ended up taking Couturier out as the play was kind of, in front of the net there. Giroux had a chance with 10 seconds left. He had a shot, didn't take it, tried to pass it to Hayes as he was kind of creeping through, and it was ended up picked off, and that would end this game going to overtime. Shots on goal were 41-34 in favor of the Flyers, 14-5 Flyers in the third. So they took over. The Flames didn't really have much. The backline tip was probably one of their best chances. I'd also argue the wraparound by Gaudreau as well. That was probably one of Hart's best saves of the game. And in overtime, the Flyers kind of continue that. I mean, it really wasn't long into overtime. Provorov made a nice play on the wall. And you know how I had just mentioned that the Flyers were getting their looks. They were just shooting from everywhere, and that's what they did. They got that bounce. They got that lucky bounce that I had just mentioned, and they were able to go up the ice 2-on-1, Couturier. It was basically like that kind of shot pass kind of thing. Just, I don't know if he tried to do that to generate a rebound, but ended up goes right to Atkinson on the 2-on-1, slam dunk, bam. Flyers pick up a 2-1 win in overtime. They needed this win tonight. I mean, you don't want to back-to-back losses, as I mentioned to start the video, right? You also have a very tough division. You have a very tough month. You have a home game, 3 home games this week. This was the first one, and you're able to pick up 2 points. And overall, I thought this was a really good game from the Flyers. I thought Brassard had a really good game, if I'm being honest with you. Obviously, Brown's injury, you want to keep an update, or keep an eye on that, I should say. Hopefully, we'll get an update tomorrow. Hart was amazing again. I mean, consistently, he's been really good. He's just making saves. He's stopping everything. I mean, there really isn't much. That goal from Shellington tonight was not his fault at all. If that puck goes in any other way, who knows how this game plays out. But overall, I thought Ristolainen and Sanheim had a great game. Ristolainen as well. He had 9 hits in this game. So that just kind of shows how physical this game was. 24 hits for the Flames, 23 for the Flyers. And again, there was rough stuff the entire game from after the whistle, slashes. JVR ended up going with a fight with Coleman. As I said, there was that cross check on Law. And I mean, these teams did not like each other to start this game, and it definitely showed. For next game, I feel like there could be some different line combinations. Something that is different, as we saw in the second and third, because obviously you had to play with 11 forward, so that was different as well. But I really don't know what they'll do, if I'm being honest with you. You have to see what the Brown injury is, if somebody has to go down to the 4th line. Obviously, Lindblom will be back in the lineup for next game. It was only a 1-game reset for him. And I personally, I would like to see Atkinson on the first line. I really like Brassard's game. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe they put him back up to the second line on the wing. I'm not sure how they'll do that. I feel like you could put JVR back down with Farabee. I really like Farabee with Lawton and JVR. I think they could be a really good third line if you want to do that. If not, I think obviously the Flyers have a lot of options, so you have to see what happens, but another thing, the 4th line, I thought they had a really good game. Personally thought this was McEwen's best game as a Flyer. Not the fact that the game against Carolina where he scored the game-winning goal, and then also the game against Dallas, he had a goal that was a bad call by the referee, should have been a goal, was waved off. So he would have had 2 goals in 2 games. I mean, I feel like he had a lot of chances where he was able to show off his skill. He won a lot of puck battles. He was physical. He got in there on the forecheck. He was just creating havoc for the other team in the Flames D. And I thought he did a great job of that overall. But again, this was a really good game from the Flyers tonight. A good start to this 3-game homestand. You want to be able to build on this. And I feel like in the next coming days, this is the game to build on for the Flyers. Again, it's a very tough month, so you want to be able to use this win, add to it on Thursday against Tampa Bay. Let me know your guys' thoughts below. Remember, guys, podcast articles, those links are on my channel. And remember to check out Garrett Group Construction on social media. I'll put a link to their stuff in the description if you want to check that out. Look at some of the things that they've done if you need your house remodeled, fixed up, anything along those lines. But remember, podcast articles, those links are on my channel. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you guys in the next one, and goodbye.